All right, let's jump right in. If you're looking to completely level up how you interact with AI, well, you're in exactly the right place today. We're looking at a massive paradigm shift in AI tooling, the Hermes agent. We're going to unpack exactly how this self-improving agent actually operates, relying strictly on the official documentation to guide us through the whole shebang.
So let me start off by posing a pretty wild question. What if your AI actually remembered you? I mean, really think about it. Most AI out there right now is completely amnesiac, right? It's a total blank slate every single time you boot up a new session. You find yourself explaining your project, your coding style, your quirks, over and over again. But Hermes, it's built fundamentally differently. It actually builds a deepening model of who you are across all your sessions.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. First up, Section 1, Beyond the Standard Chatbot. Then, Section 2, Memory, Skills, and Context. Section 3, Living in the Terminal. And we'll wrap up with Section 4, Mastering Your AI Agent.
All right, Section 1, Beyond the Standard Chatbot.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. Standard copilots, they're usually tethered right to a specific IDE. They're basically just isolated wrappers around an API, and boom, they forget everything the second you close them. But Hermes is a totally different beast. It's autonomous, it has persistent memory, and honestly, it lives wherever you want it to. You can run it on a $5 VPS, a huge GPU cluster, or even serverless setups like Daytona or Modal, where it costs practically nothing when it's just sitting idle. You can literally text it from Telegram while it's crunching away on a cloud virtual machine you never even log into. It absolutely does not have to be tied down to your laptop.
Moving right along to Section 2, Memory, Skills, and Context. Okay, so the absolute secret sauce here is what the docs call the closed learning loop. Hermes is actually the only agent out there with this built right in. It actively curates its own experience, meaning it creates skills from experience, refines them while it works, and, get this, it literally nudges itself to save that knowledge. Because of this loop, your agent is getting genuinely more capable the longer you let it run.
This all feeds into a really clever cognitive architecture that splits its knowledge into two separate buckets, memory and skills. Think of memory as the what. It's kind of like a messy desk. Facts, the current state of your environment, where your projects live, your personal preferences. Skills, on the other hand, are the how. Think of that like a highly curated recipe book. It's your procedures, your multi-step workflows. So if you nail down a 5-step task and you just know you're going to have to do it again next week, you literally just tell Hermes to save it as a skill. Next time around, you trigger the skill and it knows exactly what to do. No hand-holding required.
Now, alongside that dynamic memory, Hermes stands on a rock-solid foundation of static context files. First, there's agents.md. That is basically your project's brain. You drop your architecture decisions and coding conventions in there, like say, hey, always use PyTest, and boom, it's injected into every single session. Then you have soul.md. That's your global personality file, giving Hermes a stable default voice. And hey, if you're already using cursor rules for your projects, Hermes automatically picks those up too. The huge takeaway here, you literally never have to repeat your baseline project rules again. Now take a look at this number, 2,200. That is the rough character limit for the memory.md file, and you might be wondering, why is it capped? Well, it's intentionally bounded. Think about it. If a human remembers every single mundane detail from their day, they get totally overwhelmed and confused, right? Same thing here. When it fills up, Hermes is forced to consolidate entries. It's brilliant because it practically forces efficiency, and you can actually manage this manually too. Just tell Hermes to clean up its notes or, swap out an outdated Python 3.9 note because you've moved to 3.12. It keeps the whole system incredibly sharp.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, Living in the Terminal.
I absolutely love this quote, straight from the documentation, built for people who live in the terminal. The Hermes command line interface isn't some clunky web UI. It's a full-fledged terminal user interface. We're talking native multi-line editing, streaming tool outputs, and the ability to seamlessly interrupt and redirect the agent right inside your shell.
Now, what's really interesting here is the evolution of the interface. You've got the classic CLI on one hand and the modern TUI, or Terminal User Interface, on the other. They both share the exact same powerful backend, /commands, and sessions. But those modern TUI upgrades, a total game changer. Instead of just endless scrolling inline text, you get rich modal overlays. You get mouse-friendly selection. But crucially, it introduces non-blocking queued input. That means you can actually type out and queue your next thought while the system is still loading, and your prompt fires off the literal millisecond the agent comes online. Super snappy. And this is where the terminal integration gets honestly kind of crazy, the slash background command. So picture this, you're deep in the zone, coding away in the foreground, but you suddenly need a dense piece of documentation summarized. You don't break your flow, you just type slash background, hit it with your prompt, and Hermes spins up a completely separate, isolated daemon thread to handle it. It does not block your active session at all. When it's finished, the answer just quietly pops up in a panel for you. You can even have multiple background tasks running at the exact same time.
Of course, we live in the real world, and sometimes you just have to interrupt your AI. Hermes handles this beautifully with what they call busy input modes. By default, if the agent is typing away and you hit enter, it defaults to interrupt, meaning it stops dead in its tracks to process whatever you just said. But you can also flip it to queue, which quietly lines up your message for later without killing the current job. Or, and this is my absolute favorite, steer. Steer lets you inject a thought mid-task, so you can say, actually, make sure you check the test too, and it just naturally incorporates that redirection without breaking its current flow.
Let's bring it home with Section 4, Mastering Your AI Agent.
Okay, power user time. Managing long, token-heavy sessions is absolutely critical so you don't accidentally blow through your budget or just run out of context window. It's a 3-step dance. Step 1, monitor. Just run /usage to keep an eye on your token thresholds. Step 2, compress. When things are getting a little bloated, run /compress. It automatically summarizes the messy middle of your conversation while perfectly preserving your initial instructions and the most recent turns. Step 3, delegate. For those really complex, multi-part jobs, ask Hermes to use delegate task. That spins up parallel subagents with their own isolated contexts, and only their final, clean summaries get pulled back into your main window. It is so incredibly efficient.
All right, a few more rapid-fire power tips to supercharge your workflow. Number 1, just paste your errors directly into the terminal. Hermes has awesome multi-line paste detection built right in. Number 2, instead of letting the agent run terminal commands one by one, just ask it to write a batch script using the execute code tool. It is dramatically faster and way cheaper. Number 3, use /verbose to control the visual noise of the agent working. You can dial it from off to new to all to verbose. And number 4, listen up because this is huge. Do not change your models mid-session. Keeping your system prompt stable guarantees you get those sweet prompt cache hits from your provider, which will save you a massive amount of time and money.
So the crucial point here is security. Since we're dealing with an autonomous agent that can actually do things, safety has to be front and center. Hermes has a built-in command approval safety net that actively checks terminal commands against dangerous patterns. If it spots something sketchy, it halts and asks for approval, once, session, always, or deny. Please think really carefully before you ever hit always. And hey, if you're dealing with totally untrusted code, you absolutely need to configure Hermes to use Docker or Daytona backends. That containerizes the agent, so if it runs a destructive command, your host system is completely safe.
Also, just a quick heads up on how Hermes manages itself when you deploy it to external platforms like Telegram or Discord. By default, there's a 24-hour idle timer. If the chat goes quiet for a day, the session automatically resets. That is by design to stop your bot from racking up this massive runaway context bill over a week of just casual chatting. But if you do need it to remember things longer, you can easily tweak that limit right in your config file. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. The documentation is incredibly clear here. Hermes is not just a static tool, it's an evolving partner with a real learning loop built right into its core. So I'm going to leave you with this. Your agent is ready to learn. What are you going to teach it first? Thank you so much for joining me today. Now get out there, set up your context files, and start building your own personalized AI workflow. Catch you next time.